Hello, everyone, and welcome to what is now the second local podcast. We're keeping it weekly. I am joined by ever-present uh, internet fuckboy again, Joseph Hartwinks. How you
Is
doing,
this
Joseph?
how you're going to introduce me every week?
Yes, that is how I'm
Just
going to introduce you every week.
great, great.
I'm also joined by a good friend of ours, Cahal Smith. How you doing, Cal?
Not bad. How about yourself?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. Nice of someone to ask me how I'm doing. Cal's a Cal's a fellow journalism student like herself, and he's an Airdrie fan. How are Airdrie doing this season?
It's been inconsistent, but as what always happens with League One, especially League One, just because it's the middle of the pile. Championship, League Two, it feels more. The good teams are always at the top. Bottom, they're shite. It's the same with League One, but everyone feels like a mid-table team. And the thing is, you win two games in a row, and next thing you know, you're second in the league, and you're like, wait, how? Like, we're really bad. And
I mean,
that's what we
isn't
were. Sorry,
sorry.
Joseph.
No, you go ahead. You're the expert.
Just, I looked at the team we had at the start. We had almost the same team as last season, which finished third, which was our best in a while. And then we'd added some just pretty average signings, and then the obvious ones, Thomas Robert and Griffin Sabatini. And you're like, right, these guys are either going to be brilliant or they're going to be some of the worst players that have ever been seen in Scotland. Like, there's no in between here. And so far, they're looking really good, especially Sabatini. Robert was the most obvious one, the whole pedigree, who his dad is. But Sabatini just, it didn't take time to adapt. He just, boom, right in. First friendly, you thought, we've got a player here.
Yeah, I was just looking up Thomas Robert just because obviously I knew you were coming on, and I saw in June before he signed for Airdrie, his agent was punting him, and there was an article in the Evening Herald about him saying that Rangers were eyeing him up. I thought I thought that's really interesting that
Wasn't
he's now at
wasn't
Airdrie.
that like the Airdrie treat, which is like they fended off like multiple European like big giants or whatever just to secure this signing?
I have a feeling they might have been playing in the second tier of whatever league they're in, or the third, but I can't imagine it was Bundesliga sides, as they were saying. But honestly, he's looked a lot better than we thought. He had a bit of a slow start where he wasn't playing much. I think they might have thought, right, we need to give him time to let him adapt. But in the last few weeks, he's starting to really look the part. Just like it was his pass against for the assist, I should say, not just the pass. What was that, Scott Allen pass back in the day? It was his assist against Clyde. You were just like, how does someone playing in Scottish League One do that? And got his first goal against Livingston, and he looked really comfortable there. And this is a Premiership defence, and it was big guys he was playing against. Like, and you're starting to think, right, we've got something here.
I mean, of all the like sons and nephews and brothers of like famous footballers that come to Scotland, logic would dictate, like the law of average would say at least one of them has to be somewhat good at football eventually.
Yeah,
Who else has been there? There was Colin
Like
Seedorf's nephew or something.
there was
that was brother.
Rodney Schneider, who played 20 minutes and then got homesick.
We only sign big names like Eric Jemba Jemba. We don't do
Oh, that was
brothers. We don't
class.
do relatives. We only do the big names. Yeah, Jemba Jemba was a mess of a signing. I think, as me as myself as a St Mirren fan, Joe's a Dundee United fan. We've got experience in the lower leagues. Obviously not League One, but well, we flirted with League One, and what when we had Alex Ray as our manager. But I think the lower leagues always present a kind of. There's never a boring season in the lower leagues. I don't think
No, no.
there's always banter. There's always crazy moments that happen. Like this, Thomas Robert had every single thing about him pointed him to being a complete flop. Play one game, then he's out of the team for the rest of the season. Then he ends up playing for like Auchin like Talbot or something like that after this.
Nah, just some random team in India. Like never in Scotland again.
Didn't expect it, but it's amazing that he's actually been pretty good this season. I think
Yeah.
so. How's your experience been as an Airdrie fan over the years? Have you had a lot of highs?
No, to be honest. Although not a lot of lows. I mean, there's been some, but to be honest, it's been, as you were mentioning, how there's a lot of patter in the lower leagues. Let's just say that Airdrie have had a lot of that. Some of the stories that there is with us.
Yeah,
You're
I've
just
I've
like,
got I've got a question to ask. What was it like to have Gordon DL as your director of football, a guy that didn't go to watch your games because he was on Clyde Super Scoreboard? So the guy directing your football club couldn't even watch the football games.
Well, speaking
I've
about
got to
Clyde,
ask.
speaking about Clyde Super Scoreboard, had Mark Wilson as the manager as well. I mean, I'd have rather Hugh Keevans. Jesus Christ, he was hopeless. Like that whole time was just, it was just mental. Like we had, who was it again? He played for Dundee. I've forgotten his name. Kevin McBride. He was like our youth coach, and then he got given the job for some reason. I don't know why.
Didn't this kind of all start when Eddie Wellecky Black had a stroke at half time?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
There's some stories about him which I'll get onto soon. Don't want to go off in too many tangents here.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kevin McBride, he was given the job. Danny Lennon actually had the job at one point in 2016, but we never gave him it. I don't know why. But we should have done. He'd won a League Cup with St Mirren just 3 years before. Instead, we thought, nah, stick with the youth coach.
Would have took all your youngsters to an island and made them fight to the death under the fly style?
I mean, with the youngsters we had, I mean, it might have worked because they were all terrible. But no, the Mark Wilson and Gordon DL time, it was just, we started off really well. They won 6 games in a row, and you thought, oh my God, like, this might work. A director of football doesn't go to the games. This is actually working. Then I still remember it. I wasn't at the game, but we were playing Stenhousemuir, and you were like, we could hump them here because we were scoring loads. I checked my phone and I see there's been 5, and I was like, oh, right, 5-0 up. Here we go. It was 5-0 to Stenhousemuir. And that was it. That was just the turning point. After that, we were just awful that whole season. If it hadn't been for Andy Ryan, that team would have finished 9th pretty comfortably in that league.
Was Mark Wilson the manager during this time?
Yeah, Mark Wilson got given the job, I think it would have been November of 2016.
Okay. Mark Wilson comes across as a guy that you have no faith in whatsoever. Like the videos of him at Clyde Super Scoreboard laughing at how bad his Brecon City team was. While he was managing them, like he was laughing at the losses and then would lose the next week. Like I can't imagine
Did you see he put his manager jacket in a charity shop? It was on Gordon Duncan's account. This Brecon jacket had MW.
He didn't do too well at Brecon. But I feel like
some massive like Glasgow Uni hipster just walking around in that.
Yeah. Aye. Ashton Lane, you'll see.
Yeah.
you think it's Mark Wilson, but it's just some kid called Sebastian drinking an innocent bun.
some sociology student.
So I don't know, did Kyle Hutton play for Airdrie?
He did. He was on loan from Hughes, and
I think he was a common player between us. He is maybe the one of the worst players I've ever seen at St Mirren. We signed him in the season we got relegated, so that would have been 2016, or 2015 even. And we thought, Rangers player, he's played a good 60-70 games for Rangers, with also in the lower leagues, but good pedigree. And he was absolutely awful. Playing in midfield with Stuart Carswell, who I believe is now at Dumbarton.
Oh my God!
Just a rotten midfield, and then he started giving it the big licks to the fans on Twitter. I forgot exactly what he said, but it was getting quite wide. We gave him a 2-year deal, and also we managed to ship him out to use. And where is he at now? Is it Kelty? East Kilbride?
East Kilbride, playing a low in league,
alongside the mighty Paul Payton. The least talent, at least technically a talented footballing midfield, maybe in Scotland.
So who would you say is the worst player you've had at Airdrie over the past 5-10 years?
I think in my time, I was actually thinking about this the other night because I had a feeling this would come up. It's hard, but I'd have to go with a guy who we had him. This was a guy we signed. I think Eddie Willicky Black signed him. So his name was Hugo Faria. I highly doubt you've heard of him.
Not heard the name, no.
The name rings a bell for some reason.
So he was a Portuguese midfielder. He came in and the club were hyping up the fact that he played in a Portugal youth team with Ronaldo. And you're like, that doesn't make him sound good. You think it does, but it puts it into context how far he's fallen that he's now playing for Airdrie. And
yeah, the logic is he was born in the same year as Ronaldo, therefore he must be just as good.
he was one pool of players who were all right as kids. That's-
Yeah, Andy Robertson and Joe Chalmers play in the same Celtic team. Therefore, Joe Chalmers is just as good as Andy Roberts.
Oh, I'm not even making this up, but this sounds like I wasn't watching the game properly. But I remember a game against Ayr, I think. All he did, he just ran across the halfway line the whole game, giving away the ball and just kicking people. That was all he did. As soon as he got the ball, he lost it, or his pass would just go to an Ayr player and he'd just kick them. That was it. That's all he would do. There was
that's
one
all-
play as well.
It just sounds like Willow Flood. Like that's all it sounds like to me. If Willow Flood play on the wing.
That's like Jim Goodwin without the swagger or ability.
Speaking about Willow Flood, thankfully, Hugo Faria wasn't knocking Kapranos over.
I'd say that's probably Dundee United's funniest banter years moment. Not only
Really?
because, well,
That or
because it was the
Wattle.
season we got promoted, so
Okay.
just that whole season, Dundee United fans were really giving it large against us, calling us Lewis Morgan FC, saying that Willow Flood said in
Just
the
because you
paper
got
that
promoted doesn't mean you weren't Lewis Morgan FC. All right.
I genuinely don't
just 'cause
think
you
we were.
succeeded.
Gavin Riley scored 20 goals in the first half of the season. Like,
How many did Lewis Morgan assist?
I don't know, actually. I don't know the stats, but Lewis Morgan was really good, but as soon as he got a Celtic move, just completely tailed off. But I think that whole season, Dundee United fans were giving us a big licks, obviously calling us Lewis Morgan FC. Will Flood said in the paper, we'll catch them. We'll catch them easily. I forgot what the headline was. There's no gap between Saintman and Dundee United. And then we had a chance to win the league at Tannadice, which we didn't win, but then we unveiled that, our fans, and it was quite nice to see you guys
You
lose the
unveiled
point.
that massive ban, and 4 minutes later, Billy fucking King had scored against you.
Well, we still got promoted, so
Yeah. We'll say about the flood thing, right? What was incredible about that is that 3 years in a row, a United player had stormed off around April, May down the tunnel, like consistently for 3 years. And like, obviously, Graham, you've been to Tannadice. Have you been to Tannadice, Cal?
Not actually.
Well, like you've seen on TV, like the tunnel was not like most grounds. It's like at the side. Like you need to. So basically, every person, no matter what happens, if you want to go down the tunnel, you need to walk past the vast amount of fans in the Eddie Thompson stand. And without, I think all three of them, Gavin Gunn in 2016, Bono Kawadi in 2017, and Willow Flood in 2018, all shouted back at the fans of giving them abuse as they stormed off the park. Like, I think one day, Graham, we need to do like a 2 hour long special just on the United banter years because
yeah.
there is so much content.
I could talk about that season for hours. It was a great year.
Not just that season, like the entire
Yeah.
5 seasons, 5 and a bit seasons.
Yeah, that we'll make that a special down the line. So, where do you see Airdrie getting out of that league?
There's been in the last few years, we've seen that there's not really been any sort of banter years moments with us. You know, before they used to happen all the time, but we've got a new board in now. They came in, I think, sort of early 2018, and everything's been pretty sensible with them. Like nothing bad's happened. I think in the next maybe 5 years, I think, give it another 5, I can see us finally back in the championship. You know, you would say that's where we should be. That's what fans would say. But I mean, in my time, we've had, I think, 2 seasons there. So for me, I'm used to League One. But I don't know about this season. You know, I wrote off Cove at the start because I just thought, like, they've got a good forward line, decent midfield, but the defence is hopeless. And
defence
they're
is
top.
really
So,
defence is really Highland League quality.
You look at the 90s, like you see Airdrionians and they're like up at your championship, below the Premiership. They kind of seem to bounce around a lot. Is that correct?
But like, yeah, they were a bit of a yo-yo team, and especially.
Do you ever really see a chance for Airdrie to go back to that kind of level, or do you think you're maybe kind of stuck where you are now?
We're not going to be. I mean, I think it was 1992 we got into Europe. Like, we're not going to be that again. No way. That's never happening again. Because like, I mean, we got into 2 cup finals in the 90s. Like, that's how good we were at one point. It's just, mate, maybe if we had a decent board, kind of early 2000s going into like the start of the 2010s, we would have been a championship team. You never know what might have happened, because the season was well before my time. I think this has been 2004 when we won the third tier. It used to be the team that finished second, they had an automatic promotion, like in the English lower leagues. The team that finished second to us that season was Hamilton, and they've been in the Premiership for years now. So if we just had like the right guys running the team, you never know what could have happened. I don't think we're going to be in Europe again, ever.
Would you say there's been a moment lower than Tommy Robinson at your ground?
Oh my God. I still remember that night really well, because someone on Twitter or Facebook, I can't remember, basically said, I've just seen Tommy Robinson at the ground. And I remember thinking, no way, like, no way. Then you think, he's quite distinctive, like, do you know what I mean? It's quite obvious what he looks like. And then the video got put up, and I've never felt, honestly, just never felt worse as an Airdrie fan seeing that. I was hoping that those guys singing his name behind him were just his pals, but I can't lie, I do recognise one or two of them. I just thought, oh my God, like, he was in Airdrie for the Count Dankula trial, because he's from Coatbridge. Yeah. So it was at Airdrie Sheriff Court. That's why he was there, giving it all his shite. And then why did we let him in? Why? I know you can't exactly say, no, you can't come in, but it was always going to happen. It was always going to lead to this bad press. It was just, I don't even know what to say about it. It was just,
I don't know why Tommy Robinson went to an Airdrie game either. Like, it's a very strange one, but that's an event that will stay in the Scottish football history books. Is like,
it's just one of those things you like occasionally remember happened.
Yeah,
like it's that Pedro Caccini in a bush, Joey Garner in a hospital dressed head to toe in his kit. It's like just like these random images that just come into your head, because Scottish football is just the fucking weirdest in the world.
All right, well, speaking about Scottish football moments, I think one of the funniest ones there's been with Airdrie is just, I still can't believe this one happened. You know, this one for me is bigger than the Tommy Robinson one, maybe. It was Remembrance Day in 2010. We put up, know how for example, like Hearts on their programme, they'll use a photo of like the Hearts players that fought in World War One, for example, something like that. I can see Joe's laughing. He knows where this is going.
I think I know what this might be.
So basically, we were trying to do that. We were trying to like have this photo of all these old soldiers. And what do Airdrie do? They print a photo of Nazis. It's on the programme. It was hard to tell. No one actually noticed until after the game. Apparently, someone phoned up the club and said, you might want to take a look at those uniforms, because they are definitely not British soldiers. And then the worst part about it is the club tried to blame Poppy Scotland. The club tried to say, oh no, we got given the photo. Poppy Scotland were like, no, we didn't. Just everything about it is just, we are so lucky that Twitter was nowhere near as big as it is now back then. And it's just gone under the radar. Because see if that happened now. Oh my God. Just, we'd have been fucked.
That would give Old Firm Facts like a month of content. That's absolutely.
It would have went everywhere. Like,
aye.
Jesus.
I can't believe I didn't know that.
I don't know how I know that. I think I've seen like the actual printout of the photo, and like they're quite clearly Nazis.
It wasn't quite swastikas, but I can't remember what it was.
It was the Iron Cross thing.
I think it was that, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But
you could only see it in one of them. That was the thing.
That plays into a lot of people's view of Airdrie as well.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't help the club's image at all. People already have a certain view of Airdrie fans.
People think Airdrie are quite staunch already, and that does nothing to help.
Yes. Tommy Robinson did not help either.
No, because I'm pretty sure Airdrie as a club did have quite a big nationalist, kind of British nationalist following at one point, didn't they?
Big by the stands of Airdrie.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. well before my time. But you just see old photos of these just pricks at Airdrie games, really, and they're doing. It's not even like if they're staunch, like they're staunch. It's one of those things where it's like it might sound like a bad attitude to have, but I think it's just one of these things that will always be there in kind of this part of the country, and you have to just a part of you is kind of like just right, fine. You kind of just roll your eyes at it, but you see some of the stuff that Airdrie fans did, and there's like guys doing Nazi salutes at games. You know, just like this is just there's no words for it. Like I can't even think of anything to say about it. It's that bad.
Yeah. Well, your club's done obviously quite well to stamp that out. Because also I don't ever see anything about like that about Airdrie fans these days. Obviously, Tommy Robinson going to Highground doesn't help, but there's nothing the club can really do to stop that. But anyway, enough talking about Nazis and enough talking about Nazis and staunch folk. What would you say are Airdrie's best banter year moments?
Well, obviously,
apart from the honouring the Nazis.
Apart from that one, that's one of my favourite ones. Not that not for that reason, just for how funny it was. But I think one that always springs to mind, one that still makes me laugh every time I think about it. It's one of those ones. Not a lot of people know about this. It's actually only a few. But basically, we had this centre half. It was the Mark Wilson season, but it wasn't him that signed him. A guy called Daniel Boateng, who he'd made a first team appearance for Arsenal. And he was coming to Airdrie, and you thought, right, he might have only played one game, but if Wenger's taken a look at this guy and thought, I can play this guy, even if it's against, I don't know, MK Dons, you're like, right, he must have something about him. I've never seen a worse defender than him at any level. Genuinely, I've got no idea how he played any first team games, like, I mean, for anyone, but never mind Arsenal. But the story that makes me laugh every time, it just sums up him as a footballer, his career, and his time at Airdrie. So my brother knows the guy who I think he films the games for us, and he was talking to Daniel Boateng, and he was saying, "Oh, so where are you playing now?" Boateng replies, "I don't even know how to spell it, bro."
Oh no! Oh no! I'll look it up.
That's a fucking grace.
There's some random team in like Poland or something.
Oh my god!
Was it the Eurostar Bakau or Raquel Czestochowa? That's atrocious.
I'm gonna go on a limb here and say that you're maybe wrong with the pronunciation.
Yeah, just a wee bit.
No wonder he couldn't spell it.
I mean, fair play. It was pretty hard. I probably couldn't have spelled that.
I remember the terrorist speaking about him, like when he was playing for you. Didn't he like basically single-handedly cost you like a playoff semi-final or something?
No, that wasn't him. He came on as a sub, but he didn't do anything wrong. What happened was it was a playoff semi. It was a guy called Adam Brown, who's now at Alloa. I had no idea how he's in the championship even for them, because he was really bad. But he basically just didn't close down the guy and took the shot. The guys had all this space, just hit it, and it went in. Wasn't that? I don't remember Boateng doing anything like that. He cost us a few goals for sure, but he definitely didn't cost us anything that big from what I can remember.
And our last little bit about football, and I promise you, for all people that aren't interested in football, we'll move on soon. Joe, what are like the best banter years moments for yourself in the lower leagues?
Trying to think. Dundee United had a lot. To be fair, there was the Samarin penalty shootout.
Let's talk about that.
No, can we not? I'd rather not. To be honest, there was Paul McMullen playing five-a-side football, and his team name being the Groin Strokers. Which is really all needs to be said.
That is fantastic.
I'm trying to think. There was Simon Murray posting a Snapchat story of him wearing a Hibs training top.
Yes.
The day before the Hamilton playoff final.
Yeah, I remember that one.
That's
a pretty comprehensive list of Dundee.
Yeah, like we don't need to go into full detail. I can just like keep listing off. The thing with Banny is right is that Rangers had a massive one with like a lot of massive big incidents. Don't you did a lot of very, very small incidents that kind of built up over time.
Yeah, we're going to do, I think maybe in a few weeks' time, we're going to do a Dundee United Banter Years podcast, just solely focus on that with loads of research and so we can go really in depth to it. But that was a good chat about the football, guys. I think we're going to move on to politics. So if you hate football, you're welcome. So we're going to talk a bit about the lockdown we're allowed to see 3 households indoors over Christmas for a 5-day period, isn't it? So what do you think about the ruling, Cal?
It's just, I saw someone on Twitter basically saying you're just letting people who are going to break the rules anyway, and I think that does kind of sum it up. I mean, you obviously understand that, like, it's Christmas, people do want to see their family. You know, Christmas would be really bad if it was just, you're just kind of by yourself. I get why people who stay alone, and then if they can't see their family, it'd be really depressing. So I understand that side of it. And if people stay safe when they're doing it, then it's fine. But you can just see there being a big spike in cases after it. Like, you really can.
Big time. I think Owen Jones tweeted thousands of people are going to die because of this. And I don't know if thousands will die, but I think certainly a lot of people are going to be at risk because, like, loads of people are going to go and see their gran now, their grandpa, that kind of thing. Right, they've got these 3 households. Let's make sure it's just us contained our bubble. People are just going to go, oh, that means I can see everyone I want, and people are going to do that. Not that people are to blame, because really, I mean, who wants to spend Christmas without their family? I mean, that's like,
yeah,
it would be awful. So it's really down to the government to. I just think it's understand why they do it, but I just feel like it's so dangerous. I just feel like
I think it's the case. So, like, just the apathy is really set in now. Like, I think it's just it's going to be coming up in 7-8 months since the first lockdown happened, and it's just nobody really cares. I genuinely don't think most people, like, really care anymore with the virus. Like, they see it as a nuisance at this point, not like the dangers of pandemic it actually is. Just something that's kind of getting in the way.
Yeah, so this thing that was like at the start, there was a lot of fear of the virus, but not a lot of the virus itself, and now there's the virus is everywhere and there's no fear of it.
Yeah.
There's like, I think the vaccine as well, the fact the vaccine's going to be available by the end of this year. There's going to be 1 million vaccines in UK, and by spring everyone will have access to one, I'm pretty sure. People are, when you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, it's so hard to keep going, because you're like, we're at the finish, why can't I just go and see everyone? But obviously the vaccine hasn't been distributed yet, and so we all are going to need to kind of sit tight and wait. And it's just like, when you know it's about to end, that's when it's the hardest to wait, I think.
Yeah, I honestly think that, like, if the vaccine was just a bit more fatal, people would take it more seriously. Like, as fucked as that sounds, but like the fact it's just the fact it's only really kills off like people with underlying conditions and like the old. I don't think people like take that as seriously.
Yeah,
like, it's a fucked up thing to say. I can't admit that, but like, I do think if part of the reason
that's what people
necessarily
think,
I don't think part of the reason people don't necessarily take it that seriously is just because it only like kills a small amount of people.
Yeah,
I don't really know about.
Absolutely.
Probably the closest to the purge we'll ever get.
Yeah.
I know. Would you think this is a good ruling overall?
No. Well, kind of. I don't know. No, because it'd be a good ruling if they had done the smart stuff before, like the last 8-9 months, because all it's done has just been like a snowball of stupid decision and after stupid decision after stupid decision. This just looks like another massive stupid decision, because it is. I can understand the emotional reasons behind it. Nobody, like you said earlier, nobody wants to be alone on Christmas. Nobody wants to imagine their grandparents alone on Christmas.
No.
But I also don't want to imagine my grandparents dead, to be honest. So, like, I know I probably won't see my grand this Christmas, but I'll hopefully be able to see her next Christmas and Christmas after that if I just don't go see her this Christmas.
For me, it's like, it's a necessary evil, I think.
Yeah.
Not being able to see people. You need to be kind of pragmatic and think the sooner that we don't mix with each other, the sooner we would have normal life back. It's hard to rationalize that in your head because you're just like, I am so sick of being inside and bored. But overall, what's your opinion on it, Cal? Do you think it's a good or a bad thing?
I really don't know like what to say. You know, a lot of what Joe said is kind of how I feel about it. You know,
Yeah, me too.
Christmas without seeing members of your family, like your grandparents, it's just, yeah, it's not the same. But this year's not the same. Like this is like it's totally unprecedented times we've been living in for the majority of this year, and you kind of think, you know, right, something at the end of the year just to make us. You can tell. I like the sentiment. You know, it's like, right, have this like nice time at the end of the year just to try forget about it. But you can't really do that when there's still all these cases about. If we had the same amount of cases that there was, because when was it stuff was opening up again? Sort of like July, that
July,
time.
August.
See if it had been around. Well, if we had like the cases of back then yeah, like go ahead. All this would be fine. This would, you know, the whole feeling about this decision would be like dead optimistic, and everyone would be really excited. Christmas would kind of feel the same, but it's just a part of you is just like, is it worth it? You know,
Yeah.
You think Christmas is the big thing, and people almost treat it as like sacred, and I totally get why. But a part of you kind of thinks, you know, when you think about it, you probably can have 1 year where you don't quite have the same amount of celebrations as you usually do. Like,
Yeah, it's
we
not
all
the end of the
can.
world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it's the coronavirus isn't the fucking Germans during World War One. Like they're not going to fucking declare a ceasefire just because it's Christmas. Like it's not like
It's like that Sainsbury's advert, except it's coronavirus in the UK population. Anyway, I think that was a fairly good discussion. I think we'll move on to what I've found to be quite a popular topic on this show. We're going to be looking at local news in Scotland. We're going to be looking at some stories. I've not got as many prepared as last week, but the majority of the stories are still concentrated from Fife Today, which very quickly is becoming my favourite publication just to browse because the headlines are ridiculous. It's crazy, but the first article is from the Air Advertiser.
Well, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Shout out to all my people at Air.
Ayrshire, the Fife of the West Coast.
I'd say maybe Greenock or Inverclyde, but Ayrshire carer who pinched resident has been removed for dishonesty.
Pinches in stool or like pinches in physical, like physically pinched. Okay.
Nope. A carer was suspended for pinching a patient, like physically pinching a patient.
I shouldn't laugh at that, man.
Yeah, no, it's horrible, but it's the most ridiculous headline. Pinching a patient, and they've been removed from their job. They're suspended for that. Conduct a formal review, get all the facts in line. But then that person, while suspended, applied for another job and was dishonest about their suspension. So that's got an entire article in the Air Advertiser. It's maybe the greatest headline I've ever heard in my life.
I thought like there was like a word missing, and you meant like pinched from, like they had stolen money or something. Not just physically
pinched.
I like how they've had a bit of care about it as well. They've also thought, right, if I punch this ill person, I might kill them, so I'll just give them a pinch. Oh, that is.
I mean, it's actually probably quite a dark story. It's probably quite awful, but the headline is just absolute gold. Just like a wee nip. That's you out the door, up the road. Brilliant. Thank you very much, the Advertiser. We're going to move on. The next two stories come from Fife Today, everyone's favourite publication. The first story is, what will we go with? Let me decide. Glenrothes man steals bank card and medical equipment.
Was it the Glenrothes man beforehand that stole the gin?
Yes. So
is it the same person?
He's a bit of a serial thief, isn't he, this Glenrothes man?
New Florida man / Fife woman.
Yes, and they actually call him Fife Man as well. And no, Glenrothes Man. Sorry. So Glenrothes is the Florida of Fife, and Fife is the Florida of Scotland.
Yeah, I could
So
buy that.
he stole a bank card and medical equipment. So maybe he's trying to run like a kind of bootleg doctor's practice.
Yeah. The gin is like the anesthetic.
Yeah, he's pouring gin on some wounds. Oh, he also admitted the same day at a Shell garage in Glenrothes, he pretended to be the owner of someone else's debit card and used it to pay for goods by fraud. You know, that's
Interesting fella.
Like this is why you don't get the contactless debit cards. You never know when, like random Glenrothes men might just start stealing them.
true. They've upped the limit of contactless as well. It's up to £40 now, I'm pretty sure in some places. So, you know, he run wild. It's interesting that this stuff makes it into today's news. And like, I don't know how many people like go on and go, the guy stole some medical equipment, better back down hatches.
This stuff is only read by grands. And like this stuff would terrify grands because
Yeah.
they're terrified by anything. So they're like, oh yeah, I need to lock down all my medical equipment in gin.
Hide the plasters.
Yeah.
What if he's helping people, you know? He's like the Robin Hood of Glenrothes, stealing people's money and using it to help people. Okay, we'll move on to our final article of our favourite segment. Fife man threw furniture, acted aggressively and threatened police. Now there's a lot to unpack here. I'll let you just kind of mull and
Surely if he threw furniture,
headline.
you don't need to say he acted aggressively. like we kind of gathered that already.
What sort of furniture was it?
You know, he threw. It just says threw furniture. They're not giving me a lot of. They're not giving me a lot of information here. He flipped over a table and smashed it. That's what he did.
Also, maybe one of those massive grand pianos.
You know, we all have bad mornings.
When you said he threw furniture, I thought you meant he threw a sofa. I was just like Brock Lesnar or something in Fife.
Picked up a lazy boy and launched it. No, like, is a table furniture? Well, I guess it is, but
aye,
yeah, it is. It literally is.
Mm-hmm.
If the Sims says it's furniture, then it's furniture.
When I think of furniture, I think of like a seat of some sort. I don't know why, but the headline is always so much more sensational than the article itself. Like, well, some of them aren't very sensational. That's why they're funny. Like Fife man stuff, but like Glenrothes man still bought a gin from Aldi. But you know, it's interesting the people that live in our country. You just don't see these things day to day in our sheltered little lives, you know?
Yes, I feel like the Scotland that's on Twitter and the Scotland that's in real life are two very, very different things.
Yeah, that's actually a really good
and you
point.
know,
yeah,
we make light of these stories. There's probably serious stuff going on behind the scenes, and we don't mean any harm to anyone. We're just laughing at the headlines. We hope everyone involved is okay.
we're laughing at the journalists, not the people involved.
Yes. So that was interesting. Local news is brilliant. We need to. It's something that we need to protect because I've noticed that a lot of local news gets bought up by like the Daily Record and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just good to see some companies maintain a bit of independence and give us the stories that we really need. You know.
Yes, that's what we really need to hear. The uplifting news.
As long as they keep giving us content, I am happy.
Yeah. Join us next week to see what Glenrothes man does next.
Yes, stay tuned to find out the actions of Glenrothes man. He's been very busy. Okay, so to finish off, we're going to do our weekly album review. Obviously, I told everyone last week that we were going to be talking about Franz Ferdinand's self-titled debut from 2004. Cal, did you listen to it?
I did. I listened to it. Well, I thought I'd listened to it before actually, but then I realised I only knew Take Me Out, This Fire in the Dark of the Matinee.
Yeah.
So I went into it thinking, oh yeah, this is really good. But then I looked at all the songs. I was like, oh wait a minute, I've never actually listened to this in whole. And I don't know what your opinions are. I thought, because people always say it's like one of the best Scottish albums like ever, and I thought, I mean, it's good. Like it's not bad. Don't get me wrong, but I just thought it was kind of like fine. That was my opinion. I was like, that was all right. I didn't think it was anything special. Like Take Me Out's probably. I know it's not Landfill Indie, but in that whole kind of period when that was popular, that's one of the best songs that there was out of that whole time for sure.
Mm.
I really like This Fire. I feel like that's really underrated. Dark of the Matinee is a
Yeah.
good song. Tell Her Tonight's really catchy. But I don't know, there was just some of it I just thought this is just kind of a bit average. It's just kind of there.
I mean, I own this album for some reason. I own this album at home on CD. I've just never listened to it for whatever reason. I did like it. I thought I kind of fell for a part of it near the end. I will say though, you said "Tell It Tonight" was quite catchy. I hated that song
Oh,
first listen. Like I thought, I don't know why. What's his name? Alex Kapranos.
Alex Kapranos, Strathclyde alumni.
was it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know why he was singing such a high pitch. Like quite clearly, like can't suit it. Just,
It did sound a bit weird.
It did sound really great. It sounded great in my ears, like right at the end of it. Apart from that, I like Dark the Matinee. I liked Coming Home. I like that song a lot. In general, like over the tour album, I kind of got the vibe that they were a band that didn't really care about lyrics at all. But it was fine because I thought the guitar work was a cut above the standard Landfill Indie, I would say.
Yeah.
Well, for
Like the actual
definitely.
guitar work on the
I
album
think-
was much better.
I think you can tell that they came about a similar time to the Strokes, because quite a few of the songs, like, sound a lot of the songs do sound like they're cut out of a Strokes record. Like,
Mhm.
let's get a song like Jacqueline or like The Dark of the Matinee. Both sound like the guitars sound like they could be straight off like Room on Fire or something like that.
Yeah.
Like,
What's his
I
name?
really
Very
like this.
Albert Hammond Jr.-esque.
Yeah, I really like this album actually. It's not like my favorite album ever, but I think it has a charm to it. It's quite moody and it's quite dramatic, and I quite like
Yeah.
that from an indie record. It's got more layers to it than your Landfill Indie, and I think you can hear how bands have been influenced by them. Like a song like "Cheating on You," quite a heavy guitar-driven song with kind of quick, high-pitched lyrics. It sounds like it could have been on an Arctic Monkeys record.
Yeah. I will say I don't feel like this is really counts as indie. To me, this is more stadium rock, like especially like Jacqueline. Like Jacqueline's more of a stadium
Yeah.
rock song to me, like the way it kind of begins. Like I'm not really into this band, but I would love to go see them live just to hear Jacqueline as the opener. Because it'd be like a really great song, like really gets you like hyped up.
The kind of spoken word, kind of going into the big build up in the song, kind of going off. That would be quite good to see live. I think this song came out at a kind of time where their contemporaries were probably quite a bit better than them. Like if this album came out right now, it'd probably be appreciated more, because this came out at a time where like the Strokes were kind of on fire, the Libertines were making it big. I feel like it kind of
Arctic
got caught.
Monkeys.
Yeah, a little bit
A little before their time.
A bit before them, yeah.
Mm.
It's just a time where I feel like this album has been kind of forgotten a bit,
Mhm.
and I think it's an album worth remembering. I really enjoyed listening to it. I think
not really one-hit wonders, but like, well, Franz Ferdinand, you wouldn't call them that, but everyone knows Take Me Out. But see if you were to ask so many like people that go to like Firewater and that, see if you ask them, I sound like such a wank here now I'm saying that. But if you were to ask them, I sound like I'm some guy. You're like, do you know any more of their songs? I sound like that, but I feel like people don't know any other ones than Take Me Out.
I think
For
they
years,
know "Know You Girls," like
Oh,
I know that song.
forgot that was them.
And
You're right, actually.
Do you wanna?
I didn't know that was them, but yeah, that. that
Ignore
song's good.
me. I'm talking shit here.
Well, they've got a few. What I found interesting was they weren't just a flash in the pan. Like all of their big hits were spread out over a few albums. I found
Yeah.
that quite interesting. I thought you think
They
about it and
had
you
at
think,
least they had a spell having at least like one hit
yeah,
from their albums.
you know, they did really well for themselves for a Scottish band. I think like they were huge in the Scottish scene. Well, obviously, but they did loads of underground gigs and stuff like that. They were kind of pioneers of the kind of indie movement in Glasgow, from what I kind of know, my limited knowledge. I think quite an interesting band. Alex Kapranos, quite a cool guy.
And yeah, I mean they're still pretty big now. Like I mean, they're basically guaranteed to be on at least in one festival
Yeah.
somewhere. Like,
Have you ever seen the video of them performing "Take Me Out" at Tea in the Park?
They were headlined some after that came out.
yes, I have.
Yeah. That video is absolutely fantastic. Like, they can really get a crowd going, and and their drummer looks a lot like Simon Cowell. Not that that's relevant, it just does.
Yeah, it's they're well into that weird phase where they sort of look like dads. Like they were well into that phase by that point. Like,
Yeah,
They were quite old when this album came out, weren't they? They were like, were they not in their 30s? I think they
I'm
might
not
have been.
sure actually.
I think Alex Kapranos is about 32. I'm sure I remember reading that, which is kind of like, I mean, I don't know if I'm just used to people being
Yeah.
kind of Arctic Monkeys age, sort of around 20 when their debut
I
album
think you're
comes out.
right.
been in his
Yeah,
30s,
he was 32. Yeah, Jesus.
I'm
That's
sure
fucking
I
mental,
remember hearing that he was just like in his 30s when that came out. See,
I mean, actually, I think what you can kind of like tell because, like what I said, the guitar works feel like a cut above. Like they're obviously more experienced,
oh, for
I would
sure.
say, musically
Yeah.
than the average indie band in their first album.
The album
Mhm.
is it's a lot more mature, I think, actually, in terms of sound and lyricism than you get in a lot of other indie records. Because a lot of bands burst into see when they're young, they get a deal and they record a debut album, and the kind of fervour and the kind of momentum that they built. Whereas I guess this is maybe more of a considered release. Don't know, but they've done well to maintain relevance throughout the years. And yeah, what would you rate it out of 10, Joe?
Yeah, 6. I'm gonna say 6. Like I did like the album. I like the album, but I feel like I fell apart a bit near the end, to be honest. Yeah, like the good songs are really really fucking good, I have to say. And but I probably will come back to this to give another listen at some point. So yeah, say a 6.
What do you think, Cal?
I'd say higher than 6. I'll say 7. I'll go with that. Pushing towards a 7.5. I do like it. There's just some songs in it that I just kind of thought were a bit, it was a lot of them are those ones where it's like if you're sitting listening to an album, they're fine, but I'm never gonna sit there and think, oh yeah, I really want to listen to what's the one with the German certain name, Aufwasch.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna sit there and think, yeah, I want to listen to that. So, but on the most part though, I did enjoy it, so I'd give it a 7.
Yeah, I think I'd give it a 7.5. I do really enjoy the album. I think it's quite seminal in terms of indie music. I think a lot of artists can kind of point to them as an influence these days. Overall, yeah, pretty good album. I enjoyed it. Okay, that will wrap up our album discussion. I think it's been pretty interesting discussion. I've enjoyed talking about this album. Joe, you're picking an album that we've to listen to for next week. So what's the album you're going to choose?
The album I'm going to go for is actually an album I've listened to, but I feel like it's a very important album for music history, I think. Garbage's debut album. I've only listened to I'm Only Happy When It Rains. For some reason, I've just never really bothered to listen to the rest of the stuff. So I'm going to start doing that next week. I think it'd be a good one to do.
Okay, cool.
I don't know if you listen to any of their albums.
Yeah, I've listened to bits and pieces. I'm excited to give this album a full listen so we can talk about it next week. Thank you very much for being on, Cal. Really enjoyed having you on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Hope everyone enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube. You subscribe on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, as long as you listen to us. SoundCloud as well. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye-bye.
How Adam was tweeting about the two accents, and I was just gonna laugh at Joe. Basically, that was it.
Great.
There was no wee plan joke. That was all it really was.
We need to go on a small tour of Mulgay, won't we?
Fuck off.
Big local trip to the Savoy.
Do some dancing, as you would call it, probably. I don't...
You're just imagining things now.